What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a really strong meta team with no XL Pokemon. Do believe this team was created by its Axon, current world champion of Pokemon Go, in the Play Pokemon circuit. We took this team, I built it on stream, and I didn't realize it was his team until someone told me later on. They say, hey, this is its Axon's team. And I'm like, oh, that's neat. So, great minds think alike, I suppose. Regirock in the lead. You don't need a Shadow. You can certainly use like Aurorus or another hard answer to flying types like Charizard, or an electric type works just as well. And then you want to have Virizion in the back to be the sweeper, and then we have Golisopod as the pivot. Get right into the battles here. This team is extremely strong, and you're going to be very surprised to see how well it performs, especially like in this game. I lose pretty much every single lead in every single one of these battles. And somehow I'm still able to come out on top of these teams. So strap in, folks, because this is going to be a video. All these battles are sweaty, but boy, are they worth watching. Yeah, just hang out, because this is going to be good. So the opponent brings in Steelix. Very common team, the Caleb Peng team of Virizion, Steelix, and Greedent. So usually, Virizion and Steelix form a very tight, strong core in Ultra League regardless. So it could be anything back there that's essentially weak to, or stronger against flying types or weak to fighting, That's kind of the whole point of the Steelix pivot, is to bring out their, draw out their fighter or their, their fairy or whatever. Yeah, but fairies kind of slap this team. But Tapu Fini would honestly be the main fairy to draw out in this meta, because that's the one that's played the absolute most. So Breaking Swipe, going to be able to hit my Regirock for some damage. I'm going to go for the Focus Blast here as a bit of chip. Even though I'm debuffed, it will still hit quite hard. Drink water, folks. It's good for you. Stay hydrated. Focus Blast hits the Greedent, and I am going to look to catch a move on my Virizion, but unfortunately, the opponent is a little bit more patient than I expected and throws the Body Slam afterwards. Anyway, which, it's fine, but I was kind of hoping to catch a crunch there. Maybe I miscounted, but I'm going to be able to get the full farm down here of the Greedent and take it out of the game. And then we are going to have a Steelix and a Deoxys to deal with. This team is a little bit core broken by Deoxys, I'm not going to lie. So they're going to come back in with the Deoxys. They had a little bit of energy from when they originally swapped out in the first place, so they should be getting to a Psycho Boost here pretty quickly, as they do after this next counter. So I have to shield this up because it would threaten to KO, and they're not baiting with like a Thunderbolt or anything. They're not even at one yet. And then the opponent comes in with their Steelix. I immediately pivot back into my Regirock looking to KO it. But I want you to pay attention. I actually do this quite a few times in these games, so it might even be a learning experience for some of you out there. I wait until the opponent is about to take me out with their Steelix in order to throw this Focus Blast. The reason why is because I only want the Deoxys to get one counter. If they get more than one counter, they get closer to 2 Psycho Boosts, which is what they need to KO, so I don't want to give them any farm if I can help it. So I do so, and I'm able to start throwing these Leaf Blades out in very quick successions. I had a ton of energy from the farm down of that green that I had earlier. So Leaf Blade number 3 is going to come out. The opponent is not at 2 Psycho Boosts yet. I only counted 6 counters, so this is going to be a good game. Taking out a hard counter team, and that's a good game well played. I told you I'll strap in. Do Golisopod, by the way. I know I said it in Monday's video with the Skeletor's team, but boy, if you don't have the Golisopod for Ultra League yet, you need one. It's so good. Opponent has a Shadow Low and Sandslash. While Regirock isn't the worst matchup, I have 2 better answers in the back, so I'm going to pivot into Golisopod, looking to draw out something in the back to possibly either get an advantage or just pull out maybe their hard counter to Virizion being a flyer. But they come in with a Clefable here and get the defense drop, which is nice. Opponent is threatening with a Moonblast here, so I'm going to shield it up so I don't have to worry about shielding a Meteor Mash later. This is only going to be a Meteor Mash here that they throw here. They only got enough energy for that. They didn't get up to the Moonblast, which would have been 7 instead of, I think it was 5 or 6. So the opponent is going to be up a shield here, but Charizard will come in, and they're going to have to shield this Liquidation. Now, if they're looking for a farm down, they're not going to get it, because Liquidation is going to come out pretty quick here. Opponent catches on the Sandslash. Very nice catch by this opponent here. That was very nicely done. The Liquidation is going to hit him hard, but now that allows me to just throw my Virizion onto the Sandslash, and this is where I'm looking to farm down. And once again, I want to leave myself with as little HP as possible. So this particular double kick is going to KO the Sand Slash. The Ice Punch leaves my Virizion with like 2 HP. Charizard gets the farm down. Virizion's energy doesn't matter here. My Regirock having a shield. I'm going to shield up his Blast Burn because I'm going to be honest, I haven't played my Shadow Regirock yet. I don't know how much it does. If it 2-shots me, it's a problem. But I find out later that it is not 2-shot, so I'm going to go for a Stone Edge here. The opponent is going to have to shield, but they will still need 2 charge moves to KO me here, which they are not going to be able to outpace me to. And I'm looking to maybe make a potential catch on my Golisopod if I need to as well, but as we're going to see here, the Blast Burn will not come close to 2-shotting my Regirock, and the opponent concedes, and that's a good game. Well played. That was probably the best lead I saw out of all these games, honestly. Virizion. Oh my goodness, nasty hard counter, so let's get into the Golisopod, try and make something happen. We have Aerial Ace for this reason, to be able to threaten those Virizions and the other grass types that make Regirock's life miserable. Opponent goes for a Leaf Blade, and then comes into their Registeel after trying to chip. That was a mistake by them, honestly. Regirock just about one-shots Golisopod with Zap Cannon anyway, so going straight into the Registeel would have been the more preferable play for them there. So by going into the Registeel late, they give my Golisopod an energy lead, with which I'm able to really start to threaten the shields and HP of this Registeel. So we're going to see Zap Cannon get shield here. I do get the debuff, unfortunately, but Liquidation here would come fairly close to threatening this Registeel to lose Switch. So what I'm going to do here is I am not going to get a debuff, but I'm going to continue to farm down, and you know what? I'm going to let it go at this point. They're low enough. They threw all the energy they had. I can come in with my Regirock, and I can get a full farm down, and even though I can't get Switch here, I'm going to be able to throw a Focus Blast at that Virizion, you bet it, you bet. So here comes the Focus Blast. Does the opponent respect the Shadow Focus Blast from this Regirock? No, they don't. And the nice thing here, obviously, aside from them swapping into a Steelix into my Virizion like this, is their Virizion is now within range of being taken out by a Sacred Sword. So, I mean, even if I had to, I could Stone Edge it, right? So my opponent's shielding up these super effective Sacred Swords because they want to Breaking Swipe me first so that they can start taking less damage afterwards. Makes sense. I also wanted to make sure my Regirock stayed alive at that point too, to maintain that. So I am going to now go for another Sacred Sword before they get to their next Breaking Swipe, and now at this point, enough time has passed, the Switch timer's coming back up. I will look to bank some energy and pivot into my Regirock. I will be drawing out their Virizion here, but they're going to be nearly in range for a Sacred Sword to KO, so when they get to the move, like now, I'm going to swap into my Regirock to catch the Breaking Swipe, and then I am going to go for the kill shot here. The Stone Edge is probably enough. The opponent goes for a move. At this point, all I need to do is just whittle them down and get my Virizion onto the Steelix, which wins CMP anyway. And once again, I do that exact same thing as before, where I let them farm me a bit before I throw this charge move so that the opponent gets less farm. I don't want them to get to a charge move, even though I know that they won't win this game because they lose CMP. But regardless, I'm just going to have to make sure they can't get to a Breaking Swipe and make some weird happen. But good game. Like, one turn lag happens to me often enough. That's all I need to have happen to me to make a game possibly losable. So, another terrible lead. Poliwrath gonna go into Golisopod here and try to make something magic happen. And we lure out an Alolan Muck, which is nice for Virizion, for sure. So, I may not need to win Switch here, but I definitely would prefer not to have my Regirock stuck against the Poliwrath. So I will shield here. I would prefer Switch. I don't need necessarily. Like, I could hit it with a Focus Blast like we did with the Virizion in the last game. But I would certainly prefer to not have to have that matchup. So I will opt to put both my shields down. My opponent running Dark Pulse means they're either running Acid Spray Dark Pulse or Sludge Bomb Dark Pulse. I'm going to farm this thing all the way down. And now the opponent's going to come in with their third or their Poliwrath to absorb energy, and they're going to find out that Aerial Ace is not something that they want to just absorb. So Drapion comes in now, and Drapion is going to receive a liquidation or two before my Golisopod goes down. Opponent going for some energy here on their fast moves, going to go for another liquidation. That is going to do some damage, gets the defense drop, and we go for the Aerial Ace right before being taken out, looking to get that opponent's Drapion out of there, but they catch it on the Poliwrath and they shield it, which is like, man, I mean, imagine having to catch just to shield the move anyway. That just, it's one of those situations you just never want to be in. So the opponent shields up a Leaf Blade here, and then I'm going to be able to get to another Leaf Blade, which will put this thing pretty low, and then we're going to have to see what the opponent decides to do. They have a Dynamic Punch. They're not running Ice Punch, which is honestly better for me. I do respect the Dynamic Punch. It makes the Steelix matchup much less painful, and also makes it so that you can more cleanly beat things like Registeel. So I definitely understand why they would want to run Dynamic Punch, but they also go for the Scald here, showing me their moveset, which is fine. They're low enough. They just threw all their energy, so Regirock is going to fully farm down and have Stone Edge ready to go on the Drapion that comes back in, and that's going to be a good game. Well played. Getting into our next battle here, Shadow Regirock leads up against a Cobalion. Dude, no. There's nothing you could say to me that makes this sound like a good lead, so I immediately swap into Golisopod once again, and I know that Regirock's on the thumbnail, but boy does Golisopod deserve it. I think I've made like 3 Golisopod videos in Ultra League, and I'm just like, I've overused that thumbnail so many times, I'd rather put Regirock because it was something new. But shielding up an Ancient Power here is huge. Means the opponent threw with more energy. Maybe they either have Shadow Sneak as well, or they're not, they don't want to run the Dragon Club. My opponent not shielding this move is huge. I will 2-shield for switch here. My Virizion completely claps Cobalion, especially if I can get that alignment. My opponent's Cobalion is probably not going to want to come into a loaded Golisopod, but if it does, we're going to see the third. The opponent brings in a Charizard. I would much rather bring in the Cobalion here to eat this energy than I would to bring in my Charizard and be forced to shield. Opponent does get a nice farm down from it, though, but at this point, the alignment has already happened. I get my Regirock, I get both their shields, I'm set, this game is over. Regirock comes in, farming up energy. The opponent farming up as well, looking to do some damage. Maybe, their switch clock's definitely up by now. But the Blast Burn does not do enough damage. They look to catch on the Cobalion, but I was expecting it. So I am going to go for this Virizion swap in here, and this is going to be a clean win here. There's nothing the opponent can do. I have the Sacred Swords needed to be able to beat the opponent, but I want you to note one more thing, and I've done it more in this video than I think I've done it ever, but I am intentionally going to farm up and lose CMP against this Cobalion. I've noticed that their Sacred Swords do a certain amount, so I am going to just lose CMP, and then I'm hoping that the opponent does not KO me with this move. It shouldn't, and it doesn't. Thankfully, we live with 1 or 2 HP. Very calculated risk on my part because it was very close. Regirock could have gotten to 2 Stone Edges, but it would have been much more risky, but the opponent knows it's over and they back out. But good game to them, very well played. Leaving myself with only that 1 wing attack amount of HP was crucial there to make sure that they could not get to too much energy to take out my Regirock. So Regirock into Galarian Weezing, and then they swap in a Greedent. And so I have a very dominant answer to the Greedent in the back of my Virizion, but I want to make sure that I have energy on my Regirock loaded so that later if I have to come into that matchup with the Weezing, I have energy to throw at it rather than being kind of just stuck there. So I go for the Sacred Swords here, looking to bring this Squirrel to its knees. And honestly, I'm going to try and make for a full farm down here because I want to have energy to throw back into the Weezing. You'll get a bunch of resisted Leaf Blades, but at least it's something, right? Maybe put it into Stone Edge range. But the opponent does have quite a bit of energy from when I did that farm up, so they will be able to get to multiple Body Slams here, and I'm going to go for this farm down, but now I realize I'm not going to get there. And now, once again, I leave myself extremely low, and I go for the move here, and the opponent gets the Mud Shot to KO, so now they can shield and win switch, and they do, which is fine. This is fine. I still get an advantage. I still get a shield here, and I'm going to be able to almost farm this thing all the way down. They are going to be able to throw a move here. It's a Body Slam. It's all they could get to, apparently, which is fine. And then the opponent has Jellicent. For some reason, like a complete dum-dum, I throw Focus Blast into a Ghost type. I was so ready for there to be a Steelix back there. I really was. I was expecting a Steelix back there because I see Greedent, and I think Steelix is in the back as well. So I throw the... I throw the Focus Blast like a complete dodo, and now at this point, I'm like, all right, Virizion's got to, Golisopod's got to do this for me. So Golisopod is going to start farming, and super effective Shadow Claws are ripping right through this Jellicent. Going to be able to get to Surf here, but I mean, I shielded thinking that was a Shadow Ball. Maybe the opponent's got a bunch of energy, I don't know, but I would have thrown Shadow Ball if I were the opponent there in that case. So Liquidation is going to drop the defense of this Weezing here, and that's going to allow me to start going for Aerial Aces if I need to. I'm going to call a move here that it's not an Overheat. And it's the brutal swing, which is huge. Now, if the opponent wants to KO me, they will have to throw the overheat here. But I'm going to call it again. It's another brutal swing. And now we can go for these back-to-back aerial aces. The opponent did not CMP time me here. And their switch clock should not be back up yet. So aerial ace is going to KO. And then the Jellicent is going to... I don't think they're going to get to 2 moves here. I don't think they can. So aerial ace is going to take out the Jellicent because the opponent knows it's over. And that's a good game. Well played. I would say Weezing was probably the best lead I've had out of all of these. Oh, no, never mind. I lied. I did win a lead. I won a lead against a Pidgeot. That's right. And for some reason, the opponent is staying in. So I could not tell you how happy I was that I did not have to deal with this Pidgeot on anything else on my team. Timing that Stone Edge before the opponent gets to their first charge move. Make sure that they definitely shield. What are you going to do? Brave Bird me? They go for Feather Dance, of course. It's a Shadow Regirock. The Stone Edge is still going to hurt like an absolute just truck. All right, so they don't shield it, but it still does a ton of damage. Doesn't one-shot, but I don't have to shield anything here. They can go for a Brave Bird if they want to. It's still resistant. And they go for another Feather Dance. Trainer, just send the Brave Bird and get out of this match. If the opponent comes into a Tentacruel, and I am going to throw the Stone Edge because I'm like, I really don't have anything I can do here, do I? So I go into Golisopod after getting that little amount of chip damage. Hopefully it's going to be enough to help me here. Opponent going for a charge move, and it's an Acid Spray. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I saw it coming, but it is what it is. Going to go for an Aerial Ace here. I'm going to look to continue to go for Aerial Aces. And if the opponent is truly weak in the back to Regirock, I don't think Tentacruel was the thing that they were weak to in the back. So I don't need to get rid of this Tentacruel and win switch here. I just need to make sure that whatever happens, Virizion stays off. Well, I guess I do need switch because I absolutely need Virizion to stay off. But the opponent comes back in with the Pidgeot and throws energy immediately. And it's at this point, I'm like, this is a Feather Dance, dude. I'm not, no. So I'm going to come back in with Regirock, but I know they're going to need at least another 6 moves to get to their next Feather Dance. So I'm going to go for the Stone Edge before they get there. The opponent is going to let that go. And you know what? We get it. You know what? Boom! And now the opponent goes for a charge move. Like, there's no reason they would do this if it wasn't for Scald, right? They go for the Acid Spray, and I'm kicking myself, thinking I could have possibly not shielded that. Now they have a Drapion in the back. But I'm thinking, okay, I go over 100 energy for a bit there just because I'm trying to figure out what to do. Unfortunately for me, the first Stone Edge is going to connect. The opponent was at a crunch there to KO. They threw it immediately. We caught the crunch. Unfortunately, though, I am not able to store 2 Stone Edges, so I am forced to bail out of that matchup without having another move loaded. Now, maybe had I not gone over 100 energy, I probably would have got the 2 Stone Edges, and that would have been a much better option for me. But if this person has Sludge Bomb, I'm in a bad spot, and the opponent is farming up a bunch of energy here. They are making a very smart decision, wanting to make sure that they have 2 moves, a Sludge Bomb and a Crunch, ready to go. If this Sludge Bomb KOs, which it does, the opponent can get to the Crunch immediately and take me out. And that was very well played by the opponent. My mistake there was definitely over farming. I think that if I hadn't been and I'd paid better attention, I would have been able to win. But good game regardless. We get another nasty, terrible lead against the Virizion, and I'm going to go into my Golisopod, as you've seen me do many times already. And the opponent's staying in to throw the Leaf Blade yet again. I'm not really sure why they do this, unless there's something in the back. There's nothing in the back to beat Golisopod. And the opponent's staying in again, and I'm going to go for 4 Shadow Claws because that's good timing here into the... I wanted to save the energy. I didn't go right away because I wanted to save the energy, but the opponent keeps going for Leaf Blades, and I'm like, I'm all too fine to keep this off my Regirock, so... All right. Then the opponent then brings in the Steelix, and I'm thinking maybe this person was just too afraid of Steelix to bring in against Golisopod, which is fine, but now the switch clock is so misaligned that I get my Virizion on this thing for free. My switch clock was about to come up, but they swapped at about 45 or so seconds through the switch clock. So I can abuse the Steelix for energy. I can come out of this matchup with a lot loaded, and I can still swap into my Regirock to clear any debuffs. My opponent is committing their shields to the Steelix. They do not like it, and my thought is that there might be a Tapu Fini in the back, which makes sense, right? Very hard counter to Charizard, which is one of Virizion's hardest counters in this league. So my Regirock here may not have a lot of play, so I need to keep my Virizion with what it's got left. Looking to use my Regirock as a pivot to do some damage if I need to, but I'm definitely looking to keep this farm down for later. and I'm going to pivot into Regirock immediately because I need to clear the debuff off my Virizion. Their Virizion is extremely low, and there's a Tapu Fini in the back as we had kind of predicted. Now the Stone Edge is going to do a lot of damage to this opponent's Tapu Fini, and I'm going to save the shield for Virizion. Whether this KOs or not, I've got enough energy on my Virizion to fire off almost 3 charge moves. So I'm going to get the Stone Edge off, though, before they're going to be able to finish farming me down. And my Virizion at this point just lands 2 charge moves, and it's pretty much over. So 1 Leaf Blade goes out for the Fini here. Not able to get to a move here, unfortunately for them. The Moonblast was a bit farther away than they would hoped. So Leaf Blade takes out the opponent's Tapu Fini, and then I'm going to go for the Sacred Sword to KO this Virizion, and that is going to be a good game. Well played to the opponent here. They didn't really have a safe thing to bring in to the Golisopod. I guess the Steelix wasn't safe enough for him. So not a great lead here, but I also have a very difficult time pivoting out of this because I don't know if they have the Aerial Ace or not. I get to Stone Edge in 11 turns. Takes them 12 to get to Liquidation, so I can safely fire off a Stone Edge, get shield advantage, and then pivot into my Golisopod. And if they have Aerial Ace, then so be it. I'm hoping that they may have something in the back that is weak to Virizion, seeing that they're strong against it in the lead here with that Aerial Ace. So at this point, I'm just going to continue to fire off my moves here. I want to whittle away this Golisopod. The switch clock is severely misaligned here. Opponent doesn't get a move in for some reason. Maybe they were, I don't know if they're lagging, not paying attention, but they do end up getting a almost perfect farm down here. I try to reach for the Liquidation once I see them swap, but it's fine because now my Virizion's on it. So we're good. Virizion's going to come in on the Steelix, and once again, just like we did before last time, I'm going to be able to abuse it for energy. Flipping a not-so-great lead, able to get that early shield advantage was massive, and now Virizion is going to be able to make short work, or long work, I guess, depending on how long the opponent decides to let this matchup last. We're going to be able to make work of the Steelix one way or another. They are committing their shields here, at least the first one. But at this point now, I can just simply farm down here and make sure that if they do not get fully farmed down before they get to another Breaking Swipe, I can fire off a charge move. But they don't get there, and it's up to Regirock. And the opponent has a Trevenant in the back. This is getting dangerous, but they can't come in with their Golisopod because they would not want to take a Stone Edge on their Golisopod. So I'm going to shield up Seed Bomb here, and I'm going to continue to go for energy, trying to throw with good timing into the Stone Edge. I'm a thirsty boy, man. Water's good for you. You got to drink it, right? Going to be able to get the Stone Edge here, but unfortunately the opponent gets to a move first. But if they just threw as soon as they got the move, I'm going to be able to get to the Stone Edge, and once again in 11 turns as opposed to the 12 it's going to require for them to get to that Seed Bomb. And if I was counting correctly, it should be enough, but the opponent swaps into the Golisopod to eat the Stone Edge. And I have energy on my Virizion. All I have to do here is get this Trevenant in range of a Leaf Blade. Gonna go for the Stone Edge. Opponent throws the energy. Virizion coming in after this with loaded energy. We're gonna have to see if this is gonna be enough to KO. It's a resisted Leaf Blade, but that doesn't matter. This Trevenant is not gonna live it. That's it. Game over, set match, good game, well played. I wasn't respecting Trevenant, but it didn't matter because we beat it anyway. Let's go. Anyway, y'all. Team was sick. I highly recommend it. Very strong team in this meta, especially if you can play to the Golisopod like I did and use it as a very strong pivot. And if you're looking for coaching to make that last-minute push here at the end of the season, check me out on Metafy, link in the description in the pinned comment. Also, check out my Discord, which you can become a member of by joining the Patreon or becoming a member of the YouTube channel. You get access to my teams, my strats, my meta guides, everything under the sun for this game, and it's all going to be in that Discord as well as an awesome community. So I can't recommend it enough. I really, really can't. So please consider checking it out. That's going to be it for me for today, guys. Thank you so much. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.